So, the story starts with Haruka, who opens her school locker today and doesn't find her shoes inside. Just then, a boy named Aiba, who was in Haruka's class, comes up and asks her why she hasn't gone home yet. Haruka tells him she's waiting for someone. After that, Haruka starts walking home wearing her school shoes. Just then, some girls show up in front of her. Those girls had Haruka's shoes. To mess with her, they throw the shoes into a pit. When Haruka goes to pick them up, she falls down, and then all three girls take stuff out of Haruka's bag, throw it on top of her, and start hitting her with it. And they also rip her books apart. Poor Haruka can't do anything. Just then, one of the girls, Tachibana, says we're doing all this because you took that boy Aiba away from our friend Taiko. Taiko is also standing right there. Just then, a boy named Kuga shows up with his friends. Kuga tells Taiko to come home and asks what she's doing there. After that, Taiko leaves and says on her way out, "Listen up, that boy Aiba has nothing to do with any of this." After that, they all leave. Haruka somehow picks up her stuff and makes it home. Her little sister Shoko, when she sees Haruka in this condition, starts crying for her big sister. Haruka hugs her and says, "Don't cry, Shoko." Haruka's mom and dad also hug their daughter. Now the very next day, Haruka's dad goes to the school to file a complaint. He talks to Haruka's class teacher, Minami, but this class teacher Minami was herself a coward. She didn't want to pick a fight with those other kids. So she tells Haruka's dad that this school is going to shut down by the end of the year anyway, so why not just let its last days pass peacefully? Then Haruka explains that she lives in a very small rural town, where including her, only 10 kids are going to graduate from middle school this year, and because Haruka had moved there from Tokyo, while all the other kids had grown up there since childhood, Haruka never really made good friends with them, and those people would get together and bully Haruka. Now after this, Haruka comes back to her class. Taiko's three friends had messed up Haruka's desk and written on it, "Go die somewhere." Meanwhile, on the other side, when Haruka's dad was leaving, Kuga and his friends get together and kick him down the stairs. He had sharp things attached to his shoes, which caused Haruka's dad a lot of injury. After knocking him down, Kuga laughs and runs away with his friends. After this, during class, these people put a dead crow in Haruka's desk and start telling their teacher Minami about it. But Minami doesn't care at all. She just kept filling the blackboard non-stop without stopping. Just then, Aiba stands up for Haruka and tells Taiko that you're the one getting all this done. Why don't you stop it? Kuga says, "No, I did it, not her." The two were about to get into a fight, but Kuga goes and sits back at his desk. Just then, Taiko passes a note to her friends, and whatever was written in it makes them all burst out laughing. Meanwhile, something happens to Minami, and she goes outside and starts throwing up. Taiko and her friends now start making fun of Minami too, saying she's throwing up every single day. Now after this, when Haruka gets home, she sees her dad whose back got pretty badly hurt from the fall. Her mom tells her that some student pushed him down the stairs. Haruka knows in her heart who could have done this. Then her dad starts telling her, "Baby, forgive me. Because of my job, you had to shift here with us. But now, don't go to school starting tomorrow." Haruka's mom also tells her not to go to school until graduation. Then a few days later, Shoko is on a call telling their grandpa that Haruka got a fever. That's why she hasn't gone to school for several days. Right there, their mom checks Haruka's fever again today and says you still haven't fully recovered, so don't go to school today either, even though Haruka was totally fine. She's pretty happy seeing her little sister Shoko. Meanwhile, on the other side, Taiko's friends were messing up Haruka's desk. And on top of that, they were also getting really bored because they hadn't gotten a chance to mess with Haruka in several days. So now they tell a girl named Rumi that you have to go to Haruka's house and convince her to come back to school. And if you can't do that, then you'll become our target again, just like you were before Haruka showed up. Tachibana pokes her with a pin, which makes Rumi freak out and run away. Now after this, Rumi comes to Haruka's house to meet her. Rumi asks Haruka how she's doing, and there's a song playing there. Rumi tells her this song is really good. "Can you give me the CD?" Haruka starts taking out the CD. Just then, Rumi tries to take a photo of her to show those girls as proof, but Haruka stops her right in time. Then Rumi says, "You're not sick, are you? Please start coming back to school. Otherwise, those girls are going to make me their target." But Haruka says, "I'm never coming back to school." Then the next day, Taiko's three friends get together and lock Rumi in a locker. Rumi had shown them that staircase and said she had gone to meet Haruka, but those three don't believe Rumi's words. They decide that from now on, Rumi will be their target. Taiko is also with them, but like always, she doesn't do anything and just watches everything quietly. Also, Taiko now keeps that CD with herself. Meanwhile, on the other side, when Haruka was out walking with Shoko, they run into Aiba, who was taking nature photos with his camera. Haruka introduces Aiba to Shoko and then starts talking to Aiba. Aiba had also transferred to this town just like Haruka, and he's also living there with his grandma. Right there, Aiba takes a photo of both of them. Meanwhile, on the other side at school, Rumi had become the bully's target. This time, Taiko cuts her hair in front of everyone, and everybody was watching and laughing. But the weird thing was that Rumi didn't seem to care care much about any of this either. She was looking like nothing less than a psycho. Right there, Taiko cuts her hair and asks, "How does it feel now?" To which Rumi laughs and says, "I feel good and lighter now." Just then, one of the girls says, "Hey Rumi, you have to bring Haruka back here no matter what. You also hated her, right?" Rumi says, "Yeah, I want to kill that girl." Meanwhile, on the other side, Aiba and Haruka had become good friends. They both go out together, and on the way, Shoko gives Haruka a locket and says, "I made this for you at school." Haruka really likes it. Now after this, Haruka and Aiba start walking around town together. They both go near a river, where their hands touch each other's. After that, both of them visit many places. Aiba takes many photos of Haruka. Haruka is also really happy with Aiba. Both of them start heading back at night. Just then they spot two of Taiko's friends who looked really scared and freaked out. They see Haruka and immediately cover their faces and run away. Just then, Haruka sees that there's a fire at the place where her house is. Haruka runs to her house and sees that her entire house is on fire. Along with that, her mom, dad, and little sister Shoko, all three of them, are trapped inside. Haruka starts going to save them. Just then, the other people hold her back, because by now nobody inside could have survived the fire. Just then, an ambulance and firefighters also arrive. Aiba immediately goes inside the house to try to save someone. Everyone else is pushed away from the fire. A little while later, Aiba comes outside carrying Shoko. Shoko's entire body had been burned, but she was still breathing. She's immediately taken to the hospital. Haruka just kept screaming and crying watching all this. Her pain was unbearable. Sometime later, Haruka's mom and dad die in the fire, and Grandpa also arrives there to support Haruka. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shoko was admitted to the hospital. Her entire body was wrapped in bandages, and her condition was still critical. Haruka's grandpa tells Haruka that after investigation, it was found that your dad had wrapped himself around Shoko from all sides so that the fire couldn't reach her. That's why Shoko was able to survive. After this, Haruka's grandpa stays with her. Meanwhile, the next day, when Taiko was going to school, her mom tells her that the girl whose house caught on fire, it turns out she was your classmate, and her mom and dad both died in that fire. You should go meet her and support her. Taiko says yes and leaves. Meanwhile, Kuga and his friends, and Taiko's three friends, all of them were sitting there scared and freaked out. One of the girls says, "Now we're all going to get caught." But Kuga says, "Don't worry guys, nobody's going to find out. We were the ones who set that fire." One of the girls says, "But you also have burn marks on your fingers, right? That can also become evidence." Just then, Tachibana says, "Why are you two so scared?" One of the girls says, "We took her mom and dad's lives, and all of this is Kuga's fault." Kuga says, "I was just going to scare that man a little. How was I supposed to know all this would happen?" Right there, Rumi is also with them, and she wasn't scared at all. Kuga's friends say Taiko won't tell anyone about this, right? Kuga says no, and says Taiko won't tell anyone. This means Taiko also knows everything, and she's in on it with them. Right there, except for Tachibana, the other two girls were extremely scared and just kept crying. After this, when Taiko was sitting quietly in class, Psycho Rumi comes up to her and says, "Taiko, it's so bad that you left early that day. What we did was so much fun. I wish I could have shown you." Saying this, Psycho Rumi starts laughing. Just then, Taiko gets angry. She jams a pen into Rumi's hand and says, "Don't you dare touch my desk with your hands again." After this, their teacher Minami talks to Rumi and says, "Stay away from those bullies. I used to think you didn't like them, but lately you've been hanging out with them a lot. I want you to be okay and happy until graduation, so stay away from them." Right there, when Taiko was leaving, Kuga comes up to her and says, "Taiko, nobody's home at my place today. Will you come over and dye my hair?" Taiko ignores him and walks away. She comes home where her dad was there. He tells Taiko that after you graduate from here, I'm not going to let you go study in Tokyo. Taiko hears this and says there's a beauty school there, and I want to study and go into the beauty industry. But her dad says, "I'll decide what your future is going to be." Hearing this, she gets sad. Just then, her mom steps in and says, "Leave all this talk for now. Taiko hasn't even graduated from middle school yet." Her dad says on his way out that I'm not going to let this girl do whatever she wants. Taiko gets really sad hearing all of this. Meanwhile, Kuga's two friends were shooting at crows with their gun and crossbow. They were doing this because this town is very small. There's no other entertainment here like karaoke or game centers, and they bully other kids at school just for their own fun. Meanwhile, Taiko's two friends were really scared. They felt like they were definitely going to get caught, and Taiko's third friend, Tachibana, was suffering under her alcoholic dad. Rumi was sitting comfortably drawing sketches of Taiko. She had drawn many sketches of Taiko. Actually, she secretly liked liked Taiko and wanted to be good friends with her. Right then, it starts snowing, which makes the entire town fill up with snow the next day. And everyone at school is also shocked when they see that Haruka has started coming back to school again. Aiba comes up to her and says, "You don't need to force yourself to come to school." Haruka was still sad and in shock. She could barely even speak. Haruka goes up to those two friends of Taiko's because Haruka knew that these girls must have done something, but she couldn't even get her voice out. And those two girls also get scared and run away from there. Just then, Tachi comes up to Haruka and takes both of those girls along with Haruka to that same pit. Even after killing Haruka's mom and dad, Tachibana hadn't found peace. She starts messing with Haruka again and pokes her with a pin and pushes her into the pit. Then Tachi comes down and calls those two girls into the pit too and pulls out a knife and starts telling them that I also used to always think about dying. But when I watched your mom burn to death, I understood how painful death is. Hearing this, Haruka understands that these people were the ones who set her house on fire. Just then, Tachibana grabs her and says, "Now you're going to die too." But Haruka picks up a nail from the ground and drives it into Tachibana's eye. Seeing this, the other two girls break out in a cold sweat. Just then, Haruka picks up a stick lying there and starts beating Tachibana with it. Haruka keeps doing this until Tachibana dies. After that, she picks up her knife and starts moving toward the other two girls. They get scared and start screaming. But in this deserted place, there was nobody to hear their screams. Just then, one of the girls says, "Let me go. I didn't do anything. It was Kuga. He did everything." But Haruka doesn't stop and finishes off both of those girls too. Then the next day, everyone at school finds out that Tachibana and the other two girls have been missing since yesterday. But nobody pays much attention. They figure all three of them must have run away from town together. Just then, a police car comes to their school. Everyone starts watching them because people in this small town had never seen police before. Kuga and his friends were scared, and Aiba notices their fear. Right there, Kuga leaves school. But then on the way, he runs into Haruka. He shoves her and says, "What are you doing here?" But he didn't know that Haruka had already stabbed him with his own knife earlier. Haruka stabs him with the knife again, which wounds him and he starts crawling. Haruka chases him all the way until he falls from a height and ends up in a near-death condition on his own. Then the next day, Aiba comes to Haruka's place to meet her. Today, Haruka hadn't gotten out of bed. Her grandpa talks to Aiba and tells him that after graduation, they'll take both Haruka and Shoko back to Tokyo. He tells Aiba to take care of Haruka until then. Aiba agrees. Haruka was listening to all of this. Meanwhile, on the other side, Psycho Rumi is with her mom. Just then, she gets a call from Kuga's friends. They tell Rumi that Taiko's three friends were missing, and now Kuga has also disappeared somewhere. This must be Haruka's doing. She must have killed all of them, and your number might be next. He says we're going to go kill her ourselves tomorrow. If you want to come along. Rumi doesn't believe any of this. Then the next day, Haruka starts going somewhere alone. Kuga's two friends were following her. When Haruka stops on the road to look at some flowers, one of the boys attacks her with an arrow, but he misses, and Haruka sees this and runs away from there. After that, these two start looking for Haruka everywhere with their gun and crossbow. Just then, the fat boy finds Haruka. He knocks her down and starts saying that I always wanted to make you mine. He scares Haruka with his gun and starts trying to kiss her. Just then, Haruka picks up a piece of glass from the ground and slices right through the middle of his nose. Because of this, he throws the gun away and starts trying to save his nose. Right there, the other boy had already arrived. He aims at Haruka, but his arrow ends up hitting his own partner in the head, and then that boy attacks his own friend. During this fight, he gets killed, and then Haruka attacks the other boy with scissors and finishes him off too. Meanwhile, Kuga's mom and dad come to teacher Minami and start saying, "Where did our son go?" These people start fighting with Minami. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shoko's condition was still serious. Meanwhile, on the other side, after finishing off several people, Haruka gets home, where her grandpa gets scared seeing her in this condition. But he doesn't ask Haruka anything. Then the next day, Aiba comes to meet Haruka. Both of them go outside together again and go to that same river where they had come before. Haruka can no longer hold in her pain, and she breaks down screaming and crying. Aiba supports her. Aiba confesses his love to her and says, "I'll always protect you." Then they both kiss. Meanwhile, Taiko finds that same CD that was Haruka's, and Taiko starts listening to it. On the other side, Haruka and her grandpa were at the hospital with Shoko. Haruka's grandpa tells her that once your graduation is done, I'll take you to Tokyo, and we'll get Shoko admitted to some hospital there too. Haruka blames herself for all of this and apologizes to her grandpa and says, "Shoko, you forgive me too." Meanwhile, Aiba also tells his grandma that he's going to go to Tokyo to study further and will stay there because there's someone there who Aiba needs to protect. Meanwhile, Psycho Rumi comes to that same pit at night where she finds 3 bodies covered in snow, and seeing this, she gets really freaked out. She immediately starts calling Taiko. Taiko ignores her calls. Then starting the next day, this Psycho Rumi doesn't leave her room. Just then, we find out that on the day Psycho Rumi was being bullied, she had said that I want to kill that Haruka. And hearing this, Kuga and the two girls step forward and say, "Don't talk crazy, you can't do anything." To which Rumi says, "I'll pour kerosene all over her house and burn her alive along with her house." Taiko was listening to all of this, but she doesn't go against it. In present time, Taiko gets another call from Rumi. She was crying and tells Taiko that I'm about to die, that Haruka killed your friends and Kuga and his friends too. Taiko doesn't believe this. Rumi says maybe your number could be next. But Taiko says I haven't done anything for that Haruka to kill me. Rumi says you were the one who got all of this done. You hated her because she took Aiba away from you. But Taiko says you're misunderstanding. I never liked that loser boy Aiba. Rumi asks, then why were you always quiet when Haruka was being bullied? Taiko doesn't answer her questions and says, you go die somewhere too. Saying this, she hangs up the phone. Rumi also gets angry now and tears up all the sketches of Taiko she had made. Just then, that same day scene is shown. Psycho Rumi really was going with kerosene to set Haruka's house on fire. Kuga and Taiko's three friends were walking along with her happily. Kuga's two friends also join in for the fun. Taiko is also with them, but she was finding all of this boring, so she starts heading home. Rumi says, "Watch me, I'm going to do this." Right there in present time, Taiko was now regretting it, wishing she had stopped Rumi and everyone else. Then Taiko starts going to return Haruka's CD to her. She comes to Haruka's house and calls out, and when nobody comes outside, Taiko starts leaving with the CD. Just then, Haruka comes back from the hospital on a bus with her grandpa. She sees Taiko here and sends her grandpa back inside. Taiko comes to her and returns her CD. And Haruka says, listening to this song brings back old memories. Taiko says how much time has passed since we talked like this. Haruka says, Taiko, haven't you been sleeping well lately? You've got bags under your eyes. And why are you so scared and weird right now? Taiko says you're also so weird. Maybe it's because your mom and dad died. Both of them start talking really well with each other, like really good friends. And just then, Haruka starts telling her that I remember the day I first came to this school. You were the very first person who talked to me nicely. You told me everything on your mind and told me that you wanted to go to Tokyo and become a beautician. Haruka says you were my good friend, but even then, I hurt you by taking Aiba away from you. Taiko says that's not it. I never liked Aiba. Actually, the thing is, saying this, Taiko stops and doesn't tell the truth. Just then, that same scene is shown where Taiko and Haruka were really happy talking to each other. But then Aiba comes in between and takes Haruka to the side and starts talking to her. And Taiko tells herself in her mind that, I just wanted you, Haruka, to always be with me. Just look at me and only be my friend. But you went with Aiba. Right there in present time. After saying all this, Taiko starts to leave. Just then, Haruka tells Taiko to live well. Hearing this, Taiko feels the weight of her mistakes. She falls at Haruka's feet and starts begging for forgiveness. After that, when sad Taiko was going home, Psycho Rumi comes from behind and tries to stab her with a knife, but Taiko dodges it. Taiko says, Psycho Rumi, what are you doing? Taiko also pulls out her knife, but Rumi stabs her in the foot. After this, Rumi throws rocks at Taiko, which makes Taiko fall down. Psycho Rumi was laughing watching all of this. She comes to stab Taiko with the knife, but Taiko kicks her. Just then, Rumi attacks Taiko's hand with the knife several times. Taiko somehow defends herself, and Taiko starts saying all of you always clung to me. And then suddenly you people started bullying other kids, and it felt like I was the one getting you all to do this. Why did you people end up doing all of this? Taiko tells her that, what did you think, Rumi? If you kill Haruka, do you think you'd get respect in my eyes? That's never going to happen. Rumi was saying all of this I did only for you. The two fight again. Rumi comes running to stab her. Taiko stabs her in the face, but Rumi doesn't stop and drives the knife into Taiko's chest, after which Taiko falls right there, and Rumi walks away. Now after this, at nighttime, Aiba calls Haruka. Aiba says, I talked to your grandpa. You're going to Tokyo after graduation. I'll go with you too. I'll find some work there and we'll both live together. But Haruka says that won't be possible. Aiba asks why, to which Haruka says, when the snow melts, you'll understand. Aiba says, no matter what happens, I'll always save you. I made you a promise. Right there, we see Aiba whose hands had blood on them, and he was looking nothing less than a psycho himself. He tells Haruka that, after all, you chose your family over me, didn't you? He smashes the phone in anger. Meanwhile, on the other side, Haruka tells her grandpa, "Grandpa, don't you have anything you want to ask me?" Her grandpa says, "When you feel ready, let me know." Meanwhile, Psycho Aiba now goes to his grandma, who this psycho had tortured, and his grandma asks, "Did you stab your dad the same way too?" To which he says yes, and explains that dad used to beat mom every single day. "So I finished his story. But then, there was nobody left to beat mom. So I killed her too." After this, Aiba apologizes to his grandma for wanting to kill her, and explains that when he likes someone, he doesn't understand what to do, and now Haruka has chosen her family over him. Then Aiba says tomorrow I'll go meet her grandpa, meaning Psycho Aiba is now going to finish him off too. Meanwhile, Rumi comes home drenched in blood, and her mom sees this and starts telling her to open the door. But Rumi shows her mom the knife and tells her to go away. Her mom says no matter what happens, I'll always be with you. Right there, Rumi now starts thinking about killing Haruka to save her own life. Now after this, the next day, all the parents of the missing kids come to the vice principal and say they were all in the same class and suddenly disappeared after school. These people start blaming Minami and say you must have done something. Tachibana's dad recognizes Minami and says you graduated from Utsuma Middle School, right? You were always being bullied there. He says we all know our kids were just like us, fearless, and used to bully other kids. You must also be scared of them. As soon as this comes to light, Minami's truth is revealed. Actually, those kids had bullied Minami along with the other kids too, which had reopened Minami's old wounds and brought back her old trauma. That's why she couldn't do anything in front of those kids. Now their parents also start seeing those same bullies in Minami. Minami starts throwing up again and she runs away scared from there. During this, a machine was clearing snow from the road and Minami gets crushed under it, and she also dies. Meanwhile, on the other side, Haruka goes to the hospital today to see her sister. Rumi had already reached the hospital before her. She was just about to pour kerosene on Shoko again and burn her when Haruka arrives right there. Haruka fights Rumi and starts choking her. Just then, Shoko's condition starts getting worse and Rumi frees herself and runs away from there. Sometime later, Aiba also comes to the hospital to meet Haruka. Just then, a nurse comes running and tells Haruka that something happened to your grandpa. He called the ambulance himself. Haruka sees her grandpa who had been badly beaten by someone. He's immediately taken to the operating room. Just then, Haruka gets suspicious of Aiba. She immediately comes to Aiba and looks at his hands, which had blood on them. This confirms to her that all of this must have been done by Aiba. Just then, Aiba starts saying that this injury is from when I was convincing my grandma to send me to Tokyo. I talked to your grandpa too, and I did all of this for you so that we could both live together. And you also want that, right? But Haruka backs away. Just then, Rumi also comes back there. She tells Haruka that you're alive. That's why I have to go through so much. Rumi now starts telling Haruka how she poured kerosene on her house, and then her mom had shown up there, and she poured kerosene on her too, and then Kuga started threatening them with fire, but accidentally the fire started there, and it spread. Her husband and Shoko had also come there, but Rumi says we also attacked your dad with an arrow, and then poured kerosene on your sister and your dad too, and burned them to death. Here we see Haruka's dad covering Shoko with his body so that the fire wouldn't reach her quickly. And right there, Rumi sets the fire, and then everyone runs away. Haruka gets really angry hearing this. She runs toward Rumi to attack her, but Rumi stabs her in the stomach. Just then, Aiba sees all of this and starts beating Rumi. Aiba beats Rumi really badly and finishes her off. But right there, Haruka, who could still get up, finds a photo that had fallen out of Aiba's bag, which was of her burning dad and Shoko. Just then, Aiba says that when I saw them, I found that scene very iconic, and I just couldn't help but capture it. That's why I took that photo. Seeing this, Haruka understands that this Aiba is a complete psycho. Haruka pulls out her knife and attacks him, but Aiba dodges it, and the psycho inside him gets angry. He starts punching Haruka in the face over and over, and then picks up his camera to take a photo of this scene. But right there, Haruka was still alive. She picks up the crossbow lying on the ground and shoots an arrow that goes through Aiba's camera and into his eye, after which Aiba also dies right there. But Haruka was now in no condition to go back either. She looks at that same locket her sister Shoko had given her and falls right there on the road, along with which Haruka also dies. Now, sometime after this, the time for middle school graduation arrives. Nobody from that town had come except one girl, and that girl was Taiko, who had survived. She goes to her class today and starts remembering those same old days when she was happy with Haruka. And with this ending, this story comes to an end here.